G'day guys, how we going? Welcome to Boxing Deep Dive and episode number 65, if you will. Who would have thought we'd be here almost about 2 years ago, 18 months ago, whatever it was when we started. So welcome again to the show. Got a big one for you. I'm just waiting on my co-host Mike Altamura and Grant Tassie Brown to join the show. So we'll get into a little bit of the agenda happening. This is if you haven't been with us for a while, this is now an interactive show. So any comments or questions or whatever you want to do, just put it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer you or engage with whatever you want to talk about. Obviously, we've got our weekly news cycle to go through. It includes a lot this week, been pretty busy. But as I said, if you've got something to say or want to put a comment in there, put them in the comment section and we'll do our best. So got a big show tonight. Now, it's going to be a little bit, on the run, because I just remembered I forgot to send Mike and Tassie the rundown of the show. So we're going to be winging it a little bit on the show, but that's probably sometimes the best way to do it. So some of the news we've got. Big news on Liam Paro, Stevie Spark, Dara Foley, Sky Nicholson, Andrea Maloney. Well, it's news we all sort of knew, but it's been officially announced this week, of course. Some other news going on around Australia, some shows. Internationally, Shakur Stevenson, Sebastian Fundora knocked out by Brian Mendoza, so we'll discuss that. Maybe if we get a bit of time, we might discuss Davis and Garcia. But we've got a couple of segments back this week. Well, we've got one that's back and one that's brand new. So the one that's back is the quiz. Again, as I said, I haven't really informed the boys that it's happening, although we did sort of mention it last week. But the other one we've got is a new segment called Who You Got? And this is a potential big fight that might be happening in the next this year, hopefully. And we'll pick that, dissect it, and I want to hear from the guys who they think wins and why. So all sorts of things going on. Again, if you've got a question there or a comment, just put it in there. Again, I'm just waiting on the guys to come in. What time is it? So we've been going just over 2 minutes. I know they've both got a little bit going on. So Tassie and Mike, if you're watching, hit the button and let's go. So, all right, well, we may as well get into it. As I said, we've got big news on Liam Paro. He's been signed to ordered to fight Arnold Barbosa Jr. So I don't really know much about Arnold Barbosa Jr. All I do know is he's 28-0, so a really good fight for Liam Paro. Liam Paro is 23-0. I'm not quite sure what sort of happened with Liam Paro, because he was ranked the number one WBO contender, as you would probably would have known in the last sort of year or two. But I think it was never the mandatory, is what I've sort of read. It wasn't, even though he was ranked number one, he wasn't voted as the mandatory. Now his fight is. So the winner will fight the winner of Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I don't think I actually mentioned that before. Yep, we've got that. That's been officially announced as well. Before we keep going, James Daly, how are you, mate? Talking to ChatGPT about boxing. Hilarious. Just don't ask it for predictions. Now, what is that, James? I'm not quite sure what GPT is. I might be a little bit old for that, mate, but if you can let me know what it is, I will, we'll have a chat about that as well. But as I said, Liam Paro, 23-0, coming off that awesome knockout of Brock Jarvis. What a knockout it was. So I'm not quite sure, as I said, a lot about Arnold Barbosa Jr., except he's 28-0. I did have a look at a little bit of his record. I won't say it's padded, but let's just say there's no killers in there. I think he's held the WBO interim or continental or some sort of regional belt anyway. So, as I said, I'm not quite sure his credentials, but this is for a shot at Josh Taylor or Teofimo Lopez, which will be an awesome fight. I found it a little bit interesting, actually, that they obviously launched the fight on the just before the Shakur Stevenson and Yoshino, you know what I'm talking. What's his name? Shakiro Yoshino. Mike, where are you when I need you, mate? But they did announce that. And it was interesting that Josh Taylor made the track from Scotland over to the States to officially announce the fight. And Teofimo Lopez was back in wherever he comes from on the satellite. So that was interesting. James, all right, what do we got there, mate? Artificial intelligence. Okay, all right. I don't know really much about all that, mate. As I said, I'm in my late 40s. over the hill, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not quite sure about that. But what do you guys think? Good fight for Liam Paro. Between them, 51 fights. I'm not, going to, make a prediction at the moment because I really don't know. So apparently it's going to go to purse bids. The WBO have just ordered it for now. So Liam Paro is obviously with Matchroom. Arnold Barbosa is with Top Rank. I'm assuming they can work well together. Obviously, we all know that Top Rank don't get along with a few of the promoters out there, but I'm pretty sure they're okay with Matchroom, and which is good because you just got to get these fights done. So I'm not quite sure who will win the bid, but we'll see. As we're speaking there, guys, we've got Tassie coming in. I'll just bring him into the chat there. Oh, no, he's not on there yet. Where is he? Yes, I'll bring him in now. There he is. Tassie, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Lynden. Just trying to get hydrated, mate.
All good. Big day?
Yeah, big-ish. I mean, not just work, but obviously doing stuff for my promotion and stuff, you know what I mean? So.
Yep. I can understand, mate. So we're just waiting for Mike to come in. I was just discussing Liam Paro. News has dropped today. He's fighting a guy named Arnold Barbosa, 28. No, I just said I don't really know much about him. Do you know anything about him at all?
I don't, but I believe it's an eliminator, yeah. So
yeah.
For the winner
WBO eliminator.
Taylor and Lopez, so that's good. That's promising.
Yeah, well, I just said before he has been ranked number 1 in the last couple of years, but he wasn't actually the mandatory challenger. He was just ranked number 1. So this is an official eliminator. So.
What about Dara Foley?
Yeah, we'll get to him in a minute. Yep, for sure. I'll bring Mike's is coming in now. Where are we there, mate? Mike Altamura, how are you, mate?
Good, thank you. I'm a bit late. I was preparing myself for Tassie's endless quiz challenges. So I thought, okay, I need to mentally psych myself up for the moment of knowing how to deactivate our man, Tassie Brown.
Before we go there, Mike, Lynden's watered it down to suit you.
No, come on.
Well, you have. And he's watered it down to suit you because he knows that you'll be a bit slower than me when it comes to the mark. So whatever he's doing or whatever conspiracy you've got together, I'll let it play out.
All right. Well, we'll get onto that a little bit later, anyway, Mike. But I did sort of mention it last week. The way it's going to work in this format is that there's going to be 10 different questions. There'll be either errors, fighters, fights, weights, whatever it might be, and you'll get to pick a segment and have the chance to answer it. Sorry?
I need to agree to challenge Tassie first and foremost.
It'll be easy, mate. As I said, this is not about speed.
He's been saying for ages he wouldn't do it. I spoke to Peter today, by the way,
as
well.
And how's he going?
He misses the quiz and he misses the quiz and he wants to come back, and we had a bit of a laugh, and yeah.
I also said, guys, we've got a new segment tonight, just a quick one, a nice easy one. It's called Who You Got? So a potential big fight that's going to happen in the near future. It hasn't been signed yet, but each week we'll go over some prospective big fights in each division and just give a who do we think wins and why. Maybe get the opinion of some of the guys out there as well watching. So I just said apologise too, guys. I forgot to send the rundown, so it's a bit of we're going to be running, just free, I suppose, just on the seat of our pants, but we'll see how we go. I'm just discussing, Mike. We've got Liam Paro, Arnold Barbosa Jr. What do you know about him?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Arnold Barbosa. Early career, he seemed to be completely a non-puncher, but he's definitely developed power. He's very, very gritty, good skills. I think that, to be honest, I think the Paro's team have gotten the short end of the stick from the WBO. He's beaten a number of fighters ranked in the top 10 while he himself was ranked within the top 5 of the ranks, and essentially that would guarantee mandatory status. But if you look at the politics of boxing and you look at a lot of the champions within the fabric of the WBO, you'll see a common denominator, which is that they're aligned with Top Ranks. So, I've got a great rapport, great working relationship with Top Rank, but I call it like I see it. And if you look at Arnold Barbosa...
Don't go hurting your friendship.
Look, it is what it is. I'll say it straight to their faces. I'll say it straight to the WBO. So doesn't bother me. I've got good working relationship with both, but I understand the business and the politics and the layout of the sport. And I think that Barbosa's definitely earned his spot his victory over the former champion Jose Pedraza, amongst others. His win over Alex Orsado's earned him that slot. But I thought that Paro by now had earned his chance for a crack at the World Championship. So the fact now he's got to go through the process of an eliminator, and a particularly hard one at that, it's a little bit disappointing. But yeah, this is a real fight. This is a very, very tough fight for Paro. I think that Barbosa definitely carries more power than his record. He's not a knockout hitter, but solid boxer, good skills, and Liam will have to be on his game to beat him.
He's only had 10 knockouts, I think. But who wins the purse bid, Mike? Top Rank or Matchroom?
Depends if Matchroom want to win it. If Matchroom want to win it, they'll win it. I think they'll probably defer to Top Rank. I mean, what's the point of securing a victory in the purse bid if then by default you got to fight a Top Rank fighter for the World Championship? So I think that they'll just sit back. They'll be competitive. They'll come up with a good number, but they'll potentially take the free hit. And as long as Paro's minimums and then some are met, I think they'll be happy for him to face Barbosa on a Top Rank show.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one. Yeah, well, as I said, it's only just sort of been announced today, although I'm assuming, Mike, you might have known in advance. But be interesting to see what happens. Let's hope maybe they might do it in Australia if Matchroom wins it, do you think? Or there's not enough money here to do it?
I called that it was going to happen 2 months ago, Lynden.
Yeah.
As soon as I seen the way the rankings were playing out, I knew what was up. So, like I said, it is what it is. But in regards to, look, Matchroom haven't spoken really too openly about any plans to come back to Australia anytime soon. I mean, could you anchor a show with that headlining in Australia? Absolutely. But I'm not sure. It's a fight that maybe could even fit on their plans in Abu Dhabi as well.
Well, it's been 6 months since the last show in Australia, so we'll see. Tassie, another fight that's been announced the last couple of days. Stevie Spark, Gabriel Golaz Venezuela. It's going to be on the Canelo John Ryder undercard on May 6th. Now, it's a big opportunity for Stevie Spark, but we discussed this on Talking Boxing on Monday night. Is it a matter of Matchroom saying we'll just use the tough Aussie boy and chuck him in against the Mexican on the Mexican card, or we've got some faith in this guy and we think he can beat him and maybe go forward from there?
I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if Mike will agree, he might do, but these big promoters, they don't really give a damn about Aussie fighters. I'm going to go back to Will Thomason when he signed with Golden Boy Promotions. Will Thomason, he was there to fight the guy he finished up fighting, which was it Vargas or who?
Francisco Vargas, yeah.
Yeah, so he was there signed. So what would they sign back then, sign Will for? You're an Aussie, you're not going to sell in America, you're not an Olympian. So, no disrespect to Will at all, but they built him up because they had a good guy with a good record to fight Vargas. That's all these Americans care about, or not just Americans. I say big companies like Matchroom, Top Rank. Unless you're really their guy, I mean, they don't really care, mate. Like Stevie was the B-side against Love, and now, I mean, I don't know if you agree or not, Mike, but I mean, what's your but I mean, I think a lot of these guys, they just use the world credentialed Aussie fighter for one of their guys. What do you think, Mike?
Well, first and foremost, full credit to Stevie Spark going into the Lions then yet again. Valenzuela's a very solid fighter, aligned with Eddie Reynoso. So, of course, it's been hedged for Valenzuela to win, but Stevie Spark enjoys tearing up scripts occasionally. He obviously couldn't 100%. Do it against Tim Tszyu, stepping up 2 weight classes, but I think there's a shot for him in this fight. Stylistically, on paper anyways, it would suit him better than what Montana Love would, because
I'm not saying he doesn't win it.
Valenzuela's going to hold his feet and throw down, but I agree with Tassie's point. I think that, look, what we're seeing in all of these fights, and indicative in all these fights, and what I talk about to fighters in our region time and time again, and it's not anything you should take in as an affront, but when you sign with a major promoter, you're basically going to be part of the mix. And if you can do like George Kambosos and find the way on the road perhaps to flip the script a couple of times, then you build your freedom and then you earn your paydays. But it's a tough way to earn a living, and it's a tough way to build forward. And I think that from a Matchroom perspective, it's a win-win, because if Stevie Spark gets over this. They've got him in line then maybe to fight Richardson, Hitchens, or whoever else they have in the mix at 140. But if Valenzuela wins, it satisfies the Canelo arm of operations and keeps them growing there. So you can't begrudge them, because I'm sure both kids are getting paid adequately and being well handled in the situation. I mean, you look even at Dara Foley. Dara Foley scored an upset. Now he's rolled into Carroll. He's probably not going to beat Carroll, but at least you see that he got rewarded with an opportunity that if he wins this, he probably gets a world title fight. So I'm sure that's the way Steve Sparks' team is perceiving it. But yeah, to Tassie's point, I mean, you know, we see it all the time, the Australian fighters, and, you know, I've been front and centre to a lot of it too. You sign with the international promoter and it comes with all this fanfare, but you're just another number in their mix of operations, and you can't take that to heart. It's just the way the business is.
Yeah, well, and as you said, you know, you got to take your hat off to Stevie Spark, who's like, hey, you know, he went to Montana Love's hometown, and now he's going into Mexico City against a Mexican in front of 60,000 people, whatever it's going to be. So, yeah, you got to be in it to win it.
Million percent, mate. I really like Stevie Spark. I don't think he'll, you know, he can win this definitely. And what I was just saying how, you know, that's obviously, you know, the priority to the Australians isn't, you know, but like, I think he'll pull it off, mate. Like he did against Love. It's sort of funny though. You got Spark, Paro, and Foley in the same division, all getting 3 big fights.
Yeah.
Like,
Or with the same promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Eddie might do a super 6, super lightweight tournament with Aussies.
Yeah. We never know, because there's a bit of talent around in that division. Speaking of the third wheel, let's talk about Dara Foley, and thank you to Oz Boxing for letting me borrow your graphic there. Mike, as you said, Dara Foley, Jack Carroll, May 28th on the Mauricio Lara Lee Wood undercard in Manchester. Again, you got to give Dara Foley full props for taking this fight.
You've got to be in it to win it, and the fact that he's just coming off albeit a short preparation for Robbie Davies, a preparation against a fellow southpaw, and now he rolls into another southpaw. So you can't say that Dara won't be in condition and won't be prepared for the opportunity. And I know he's been clamouring for the big stage, so it doesn't get any grander than this. I know Dara's flip-flopped as to where he's stood and where he's been at in his career, and we've seen a few layoffs at different stages, but finally he has an opportunity that he'll be prepared to grab it with both hands. But look, make no question about it, this is an uphill battle. Carroll to me is absolute class and is the uncrowned world champion. I thought that he clearly outpointed Josh Taylor, and from my time working for MTK, I did see a lot of Carroll in the gym and at work, and he's a very, very tricky customer and deceivingly strong. So it's going to be a tough challenge, but full credit to Dara for taking it on with both hands.
Tassie, it's a classic example, isn't it? A bit like Stevie Spark, a bit like Liam Parra, and all these guys, they take these opportunities, maybe sometimes on short notice, even though this was, his last opponent obviously injured. Davies injured his ankle. But again, you got to put yourself in these positions to get these opportunities. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to be the co-main on a world title fight card. And if he happens to jag this one, well, he's going to be fighting for the world title after this one.
Yeah, mate, look, when opportunities are presented, you got to take them. I mean, boxing is a tough game where you can fight your whole life and not get the opportunity to fight on the big stage or for big money. Hence why I took the fight for Bo Bellman versus Nikita Zoo. Like, sometimes you got to take those and you got to weigh out where you are in your career, how old you are, how long you've been fighting for, what is the goal. So when you do get a major opportunity, you'd be crazy not to take it. And it's a win-win. I mean, no matter what happens, Foley's a winner in this, mate, because his career gets a vitamin B12 injection.
Yeah, and look, again, same as Stevie Sparks, same as Liam Parra, all these fighters, Liam Wilson, of course, all these Aussies just saying, hey, bring it. Because one thing, you didn't mention there is, you got to evaluate a lot of things. One thing, of course, you got to throw out there more than anything is what happens if we win this fight, the opportunities and the doors that might open. It's obviously worth the risk, because even if you don't win, as we saw with Liam Parra and even now Bo Belbin as well, opportunities will come to these guys because of what they've done and the performance they've put up. Do you think, Mike, you've obviously been in the management business for a long time?
Yeah, and I've had this argument for people a long time. We don't aim to be world champion of Australia. We aim to conquer the world. And just because other people might see limitations in your capabilities doesn't mean that it's not worth pursuing and giving it your absolute best, because boxing history is predicated on people going against the odds, taking chances and tearing up the script. So how can you better your existence if you always fight in your comfort zone, which are all of these opportunities? And the other side of it is the financial security that comes with taking these kind of fights. You know, someone like Dara Foley would get worn out fighting probably 6-7 times in Australia just to get anywhere close to what he's going to earn in one night against Carroll. Yeah. So that you've got to consider as well.
Yeah, and same for Stevie Spark as well, I suppose. Another fighter out there that's taking on the world overseas is, of course, Skye Nicholson. She's got another gig coming up another couple of weeks, whatever it might be. She's up against Linda Laura Lecher, 15-6-2. That's at Cardiff Arena. That's on the, Mike, help me out with this name here, Raka Amivov and Joe Cordina, IBF Super
Rakhimov.
Featherweight. I'm not even going to attempt his first name. Can you say it?
Shavkat.
On Rakhimov versus Joe Cordina. So it's on that card. Skye Nicholson, 6-0. Tassie, look, you got to give her credit again, like the others, for going out there. This girl, I don't really know much about Lecher or Lecker, however you want to pronounce it, but again, you got to put yourself out there.
Mate, Skye is a pure boxer. Like, she moved over there to give herself every opportunity. She's under one of the best banners in boxing, Matchroom. She fights regularly. She fights on fairly big shows already in a short career, and she's active. So, I mean, she is a boxer. She's doing what a boxer's meant to do. She's living the dream. She's over there in England, getting the best sparring under the biggest banner, and she's fighting regularly. So, I mean, she's doing what you're meant to do. I mean, so full credit to her. You can only give her credit. You can't, you know, and she's quite active, and Eddie will keep bringing her along. And I mean, she's fought in Madison Square Garden, Vegas, all
New York,
under what, 6 fights or something. So I mean, it's look, you know, she'll do well, mate. I mean, she'll definitely win a title one day. That's, you know, I mean, stylistically, you know, probably I'm not a massive fan, but I give her credit. She's a full-time boxer, and she's living the boxing dream. I mean, God, who wouldn't want to? I mean, a young Nina Hoskins come out of the '96 Olympics, go and base yourself in England under like someone like Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn. I mean, or like Robbie Peaton did with, you know, in America. That's what you do.
Yep. Mike, it has been called for Skye to up the ante, but you can't blame the management by just getting her the fights. I mean, as Tassie said, she's been very active. I'll tell you one thing, they don't give her much notice for her fights. I'm assuming they might have the calendar worked out in advance, but literally a week and a half before the fight, it's been announced. But do you hear the calls about her needing to step it up, or do you think, you know, 6 or 7 fights and now she's right on track to where she needs to be?
Well, first and foremost, that's Matchroom for you. A lot of their business is on that 3 to 4 week kind of phase. Skye would have had a bit more notice than the announcement, but if you sign to them, you've got to be ready on a 3 to 4 week jump. That's just how they operate. As for Triple L, Linda Laura Lecker, she's going to be Quadruple L because she's definitely taken a loss in this fight. But I think that, look, I can sit back and tell you that Skye can be dreadful to watch at times because it feels like she's negative and it feels like there's more in the tank than what she's presenting. But I think also, and you've seen me sit here before and talk about it, boxing's flavors of ice cream. Her flavor of ice cream has no dynamite in it. It has no popping candy. There's no real genuine power in what she does at an elite level. She's a crafty, slick boxer. She's got 2 or 3 punches. She's got that sweep in left to the body. She's got a nice little right hook, both downstairs to the body. Doesn't have a real strong jab or that, but she's got those tricks. She's got some defensive craft. She's got a very good eye. She's got good counter skills. I think that when you see how she's performing, I just get a sense that better opposition who are going to come with more intent are going to bring out more of her skills. I think that a lot of her fights, she dominates the first 2 or 3 rounds. The opponents go defensive, but that doesn't play into her wheelhouse, which is to counterfight. I don't think she's the type that's going to be in a seek and destroy mode. So we can't just expect that how she's fought from childhood throughout to her amateur career. Extremely unfortunate not to win a medal in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. We can't think that her whole mindset that was crafted for her amateur career is suddenly going to switch and change now that she's in the professional ranks. So it's frustrating because she's 6-0 with 0 knockouts, but she has stunned at least 3 of her opponents, but just hasn't been able to finish them. It'd be good to see her get a stoppage, but I think that the better performances are going to come with better caliber opponents and more well-intentioned opponents.
Yeah, and you're right. She hasn't had a stoppage yet, but I suppose there's nothing in the rule book that says you have to be exciting. You've just got to keep winning, I suppose. So, But and I'm sure she's definitely on the right track. There, I see her winning some sort of world title, no doubt, down the track. But whether people want to pay to see her fight's another thing, I suppose. One fighter everyone wants to see fight is our man Andrea Maloney. Now, Tassie, we've known about this for a few weeks, of course, but this week's been officially announced. They've got their own poster now. Saturday, May the 20th at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. It's all locked in. How exciting is this for the Munster?
Is that on the undercard or something, Lynden? Or?
Well, it's not actually, I was just going to say, it's not actually part of the, well, we'll pay for it over here, of course, on main event, but in the States, it's actually not part of the pay-per-view. It's part of the free to air thing, which is just mind-boggling.
But it's on the undercard still.
On the undercard. It's just not on the pay-per-view part, which is just ridiculous.
I was having a joke. I was saying, is it on an undercard of something?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you are. Yeah, sorry. Straight over there. But it is obviously on the undercard of Haney Lomachenko. But do you think that's surprising that it's not part of the pay-per-view card? Why would they bother putting it on the card in the first place?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially Andrew's a top-ranked fighter. It's a world title, but I don't know. Look, regardless, mate, he gets his shot. I done a post last night wishing the boys good luck, and they both replied to me, Jason and Andrew, and I'm so happy for them, mate. And I don't know if this it will make history. Let's ask Mike, the big history genius of boxing. Is this the first time 2 brothers potentially might win a world title within a week of each other?
First time within a week. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously Terry and Orland Norris were world champions at the same time.
I'm ringing Peter
Galaxy Brothers were the world champions at the same time, but within a week, as in capturing vacant world titles and becoming champion, I think you may be onto something. We will investigate. No, I was actually there when Jamal knocked out Bundridge to win his world title, and the brother was still about 2 years off for winning his world title.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I've got a little. I'll start the quiz early. Do you know only one set of brothers did fight each other?
The Marcianos?
Two Japanese fighters.
Ah.
Well, Marty Jakubowski knocked out his brother Eric.
Yeah, I'm talking for like world titles.
Oh, world title. Right.
Yeah. Because I think isn't the little Edwards flyweight called his brother out, Mike?
Sonny Edwards?
Yeah. Well, they both kind of called each other out, but I think it's more in jest, if anything. Yeah. Although, having spent a lot of time around those boys, they are so hyper-competitive that I think if you pushed and offered them the right pay packet, you may see that battle.
Just cannot get my head around how that would work. But, I suppose anything's possible, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. But back on the attention where it needs to be, which is Andrew Maloney and Junto Nakatani. I think this is a terrific fight. It's a very tough bout. I think of the 2 vacant world championship bouts for the Maloney brothers, this is a significantly tougher fight. I think that I'm pretty confident Jason Maloney will be able to outbox and potentially stop Astrolabio in the middle rounds. This one here, Andrew's going to have to really bring his A game. His jab, he's going to have to really vary his jab, and he's got to really go on point because Nakatani's a really strong left-handed counter fighter. Good jab himself, good straight left down the center, good right hook, patient, and think that a lot of what he does well will be able to put Andrew in very vulnerable defensive spots. So just hopefully Andrew will be on and will be able to find enough to outpoint him throughout the contest.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough
question
one.
for you, Mike. Question for you, Mike. How would Jason go against the other Inouye that just won the world title?
I think Jason beats him. Yeah, I watched Takuma Inoue on the weekend. I wasn't particularly impressed. I think that it would be a smart fight given Top Rank's working relationship with Mr. Honda and Tekken Promotions. I think if Jason Maloney is able to get over the line against Astrolabio, I think that it would be a smart fight to push for that unification pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, I watched a bit of Nakatani in the last few days just on YouTube, and yeah, he's definitely, like you said, he's tall, he's southpaw, he's got a good jab, good, not bad power. So Andy's got his work cut out for him, but I'm sure that Angela Hyder is working on a plan at the moment. So, but either way, it's going to be a massive event for both Maloney boys, and I'm sure they can bring it home. Before we move on from the Aussie stuff, guys, and get into the world news, I just want to mention this one, Mike. I'm sure you're all across it, all for the kids too. I wanted to mention it because the main event, I'm assuming it's the main event of the card, has been put up, and it's actually a really good fight. Jalen Tate against Kai McKenzie for the main event. And Rocky Ogden and Manuel Mate should be pretty good. Benjamin Hussein's on there as well, so for Australasian titles. But, Mike, do you know much about this? I know you're involved with some of the fighters on the card.
Actually, no, none of the fighters on the card
are they? Okay.
in my stable, no. But obviously, yeah, Steve Scanlon's pieced this one together, and he's in the midst of, I believe, it's over 1,000-kilometre walk, right, at the moment. To raise funds and that, which is a great cause. So it's a charitable event. There's some really good fights on this card, like you said. I mean, Jalen Tate, it's a bit of a step up against Kai McKenzie, but having watched Kai against Yusuf Dib, I think I rate the athleticism and the unorthodox style of Jalen Tate. I just think that he's going to be able to turn Kai inside out all night, but it's a good fight. And even the, Monroe Mafet and Rocky Ogden, it's a slight step up for Ogden as well. Decent fight.
So 4-0 against 5-3, and Benjamin Hussein 8-2 against Peter Miria 4-1. I think it's interesting though. I think Miria is from Papua New Guinea, and it's for the Australasian Super Welterweight title. So I don't know. I suppose it does fall in Australasia. I suppose, doesn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, it's part of Australasia.
He
definitely ain't going back to PNG with any hardware. Though.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. And Viviana Ruiz is on there as well. I'm not quite. Do you know what happened there with her fight with young Jasmine Parr? What happened with that? Because that was scheduled at some stage.
Parr was out with an injury, so that was supposed to be on an Ace show. Parr was out with an injury. I know that the girl that Viviana's fighting went the distance with Lynn Sandstrom, so maybe they've secured that opponent knowing that she's been durable there, and they'll look at it as a barometer to see if they can stop her.
So you can see there, April 21st at the Brisbane Showgrounds, all for the kids too. So if you want to donate to that, get on the website and whatever and do your thing. Great cause from Steve Scanlon. Now, Tassie, on to your man. Shakur Stevenson into the world news. A dominant 6th-round stoppage of Shakiro Yoshino. It was on Sunday, I think, on Fox Sports. Very, very impressive debut at 135.
Yeah, mate, I've said a long time now that he's got every bit of speed and he's starting to sort of sit down his punches more, mate. He's probably the closest thing to the next Floyd Mayweather, even though he's a left-hander, but he's got it all, mate. Like I've said from day one. He's the one to watch. He's in a great division. The thing I love about the 135 division, they're all young. Like Tank Davis is the oldest, and he's 28. They're all under 30. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Frank Martin, all these guys, and obviously Shakur Stevenson. So much depth there. Who is the man at that weight? Devin's the man at the moment. I think he beat Schlommer. And then Bill Haney reckons he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay at 135. So Devin and Shakur is just unbelievable if that happens. So, and you got Tank there still. If he beats Garcia, you can't write Tank off. So it's just so much good depth there. But Shakur's a future pound for pound number one. He's got everything.
Mike, it was, as I said, it was an impressive performance by Stevenson. Geez, if there was a potential fight with Haney, or it'd probably make people forget about Crawford Spence pretty quick, wouldn't it?
It's a great fight. I mean, I don't know with Stevenson. He's such a slippery, skilled customer, but I don't know if it's translated to mainstream appeal just yet. But I think that once those super fights come, it'll definitely play part to that territory. I think that we'll see a crossover because there has to be an appreciation for this young man's skills. And we've seen it with Shakur for a long time. I mean, to win an Olympic silver medal at 17 years of age, and then he's parlayed it into the pros. And I know that a lot of people have their question mark as to how he would perform going up to the lightweight division, but you've got to keep in mind he is still a young gentleman growing, and so he's organically built into 135. His frame's filled out, and for anyone looking at his record and thinking he's not a puncher or that, he might not be a puncher, but he's physically very, very strong. He's very similar to Bud Crawford like that. He's deceivingly strong on the inside, and I'm actually what intrigues me about Shakur at the weight is I think he can outbox anyone, and I think that it's just by chance in his career we haven't seen him against anyone that's really an elite boxer. We've seen him against elite punchers. We've seen him against physically strong fighters, rugged like Oscar Valdez. We haven't seen him against an elite boxer. That's why I'm intrigued. Whoever wins between Loma and Haney, I believe Haney's probably going to outbox Loma, but whoever wins that fight, winner of that against Shakur, I mean, what a fight. I mean, we talk about wanting to see Hearns versus Leonard in this era and those kind of fights, and that's what we'll be delivering if that fight comes together, whoever it is.
Approaching the peak would be great.
You reckon?
Yeah,
get your popcorn ready, Mike. You reckon? Get your popcorn.
What was that? Sorry. Yeah, get your popcorn ready. Absolutely. And the thing is, like Tassie said before, I mean, it's a terrific weight class. You can't discount the likes of Frank Martin coming through. There's a lot of really good prospects that are building into the weight too. You always got to look at what's coming through from 130 of guys
as well. Pitbull Cruz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Isaac Cruz is like that B plus tier fighter that's there to test any of these guys, and if they're not on their game, you can definitely give them absolute hell. But I think that really, when you look at the fabric of it, then you've got obviously Gervonta in the mix, Ryan Garcia. Just hopefully, I have to give Lomachenko a lot of credit because Lomachenko's at a stage of his career he could just pick and choose and take his challenges and go back to 130 and fight a Navarrete and pick up a WBO bout or whatever. But Lomachenko, to me, at 30 plus years of age, is the one that's really showing the way of how to take on the best challenges, the biggest and the baddest challenges, and that's kind of forced the hand of the other guys too in the weight class.
Well, if it all goes according to plan, hopefully they Haney or Lomachenko will be fighting Shakur Stevenson next, or maybe we might get George Kambosos and Shakur at the end of the year. Who knows? Because that's been talked about as well.
Don't do that to George, Lynden. Don't do that to George.
Yeah, George don't need that work.
Yeah,
don't you like George Lynden?
No, I've just they have had some exchanges. That's all I'm saying. I'll tell you though, one fight that didn't go according to plan was this one. Sebastian Fundora, Tassie knocked out by Brian Mendoza. Geez, it was a great knockout, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a few at 154 might be happy that happened, mate, because he was really the boogeyman. Such a big, tall guy. How do you prepare for someone like him? And it's I think he done a few favours for a few people. So yeah, it's a bit of a shock, mate. But Fundora, he probably could have sat there and waited for Charlo like Tim, and I mean, or waited for Tim and Charlo or whether. But I mean, he kept fighting like a real fighter. But that's the trouble. You risk that. When you're there at number one, or you got an interim belt, and you risk it. That's what can happen.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, it was a great knockout. We had the conversation on Monday night, and a little bit of debate going back and forth about Fundora's game plan. Do you think this is just his style, or I don't know? I'm not going to call it arrogance because he's not an arrogant guy, but he's got all the advantages of being so tall and the reach. He insisted in his last few fights in standing in the pocket and trading with these guys. Do you think it just caught up with him and his luck run out?
Well, what I say is, if you look at the range he got hit, he actually got hit stepping in from the outside. He's terrible on the outside. I don't care what anyone says. You can try and reteach him. You can try and get him to use his range. He stands tall like a statue. He doesn't move his head. His hands are upright. He's very textile. I think he's better on the inside. You know, he might have a 200-centimetre reach, but he's safer all the way in than he is on the way out. And if you look at the range that he got hit with that shot, I mean, Mendoza was beautiful in that exchange. Fundora controlled 5 of the first 6 rounds, but Mendoza feinted to the body and then brought the hook to the head, lowered the boom, and then when he was out on his feet, hit him with the right hand and another left hook for good measure. So you've got to give Mendoza a lot of credit. But what I think will come out of this, and this is where, you know, people will say with Fundora, he's got to learn how to box on the outside, he's got to use his skills, he's got to lose his jab. Some guys, their dynamics just don't, as in their body dimensions, just don't suit how they fight. You know, I mean, Diego Corrales was able to jab on the outside and use his range and use his skills for a number of fights. Paul Williams was a big guy that used to fight on the inside, smother opposition. Look at Margarito. Margarito never threw a jab from the outside ever. You know, he was 5'11" welterweight, but his whole game was on the inside. I think Fundora's whole game is predicated on throwing those short chopping shots on the inside, and then as opponents are retreating from that position or repositioning, he catches them back and out. I think that he's just too slow defensively to be able to try and prod and use the jab and use long left hands at the elite level. Obviously, sub-elite level, he can beat him anywhere. But I hope that coming out of this knockout loss, Fundora doesn't lose his confidence. I hope he doesn't lose his confidence to be able to stand and trade and fight on the inside, because he is an anomaly, and we hear it all the time. People say he looks like one of those creator characters in a video game where you put the height to the maximum and the weight to the minimum. But he's been fun to watch, and great victory for Brian Mendoza, but I hope that Fundora doesn't lose the adulation of the fans either.
Yeah, let's hope so, Tassie, because we talked about it again on Monday night, that what a knockout like this can do to somebody, and I hope it doesn't affect him, but it can really affect the confidence and, you know, of these guys at the elite level, can't it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, you know, it's always hard to come back for such a devastating knockout loss. But I mean, look, some do come back, obviously, but we'll see. I mean, you know, it's boxing. It's not a tickling contest. So,
Yep.
you know, but yeah, but as I said, look, when you're in that number one spot, it's dangerous to risk it, and he did, and it didn't pay off for him. But I mean, yeah, I'm just more focused on Tim when he gets his shot against Charlo, and if he does fight in June, who it's going to be. So I just want Tim to get his day in the sun and finally get the chance to become the undisputed champion, mate. So I mean, they all know now that Tim's a real deal.
Yep,
You know?
no, 100%. Well, one last bit of news we've got is, we mentioned at the start of the show, Josh Taylor, Teofimo, Lopez. Mike, we've known about it. It's been sort of, you know, rumoured for, you know, the last little while, but it was officially announced on the weekend. What are your first thoughts of who wins and why?
It's a great fight. I mean, you know, you look at a year and a half ago, this is a super fight for a very, very different reason. Well, a couple of years back, I should say, but obviously Teo with the shock loss to Kambosos, and then the move up to 140, where he hasn't been scintillating, not even in the slightest. You know, hasn't shined at the weight. And of course, Taylor coming off an injury layoff, and prior to that, a very controversial decision win over Carroll, in which he was knocked down. So I think both men have a lot to prove. Still think that you probably have to back in the naturally bigger guy in Josh Taylor, but Teo will be up for this challenge. I think that he will perceive this as a chance for redemption, and it's going to be a very, very interesting fight to watch.
Yeah, it will be. And Tassie, it's actually at the Madison Square Garden on June 10th in New York. Now, it's actually in the small stadium. Do you reckon this fight was big enough to maybe be in the big one?
Nah, not now, mate. Lopez before Gambosis broke his heart, yes. Taylor before Carroll. Taylor's from Wales. Or was it Scotland? I think. I mean, nah, it deserves to be where it is, Lynden, because they're not big star powers. Lopez thinks he's bigger than what he is. Lopez isn't that big. They tried to build him up. They had him on Heisman Trophy night fights, and he's not as big as what he thinks he is. It's a tough fight. They're both coming off sort of shitty performances I'm gonna probably steer towards Lopez getting up for it and showing me something that he hasn't shown me since Lomachenko. So yeah, he just needs to start throwing more punches and relying on the right hand. You know what I mean? He wants to start using his jab. So I'll go with Lopez, but it's sort of big fight, but not that big, Lynden, because of their performances.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's a fight that all the fight fans will be really looking forward to.
It's not at the the Melbourne Town Hall, the St Kilda Town Hall. Still at a decent venue.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a big fight that the real fight fans will look forward to. But as far as the casuals, which you always need in these types of events, I really can't see them getting 15 or 20,000 people to this fight. So one fight that will, Mike, attract them if it ever does happen. This is our new segment called Who You Got, where we get a potential fight down the track and who we think wins and why. I've started in the heavyweight division. There's who you got. I've started with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, even though there's been a lot of talk. It hasn't actually been signed off on yet. If and when it does happen, who wins and why?
Begrudgingly, I have to say that Greedy Belly will still win it. But I'm done with his antics. I'm absolutely flatlined by his antics. Obviously, I had a very small part to do with his comeback and that. And, he's built up to the fight with Deontay Wilder the first time around, and then his ascension to recapturing the world title. And I think that so many people have been on the journey with Tyson all of the way, even through the breakdown of talks with Joshua and other super fights. But I think finally the genuine fight fans have had enough. It's just frustrating, and it was clear as day to see that he sidestepped and ducked Usyk in the negotiations.
So points or stoppage or?
No, I think that Usyk's crafty enough to survive and move and hold. I just think he's naturally just a little bit too small. I think his speed and his athleticism could give Fury some problems, but Usyk's no young man either. He's nearing the tail end of his career too, and he's unnaturally up in weight a little bit. So I just favour Tyson, probably 9 rounds to 3, that kind of deal.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Tassie, who you got and why?
It cut out a bit there, Lynden. It lagged a bit, but
sorry, mate. Who you got?
Yeah, I've got Fury. I always said a good big man beats a good little man, and as good as Usyk is to even be there as a champion, he's such a good boxer. But I think Fury's size, he knows how to use his size. Fury's starting to bang a bit more now. He can box as well. The Fury has fought Wilder in recent times has been unbelievable. So I think. Besides the antics, if they do ever get on, I think Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world, and he'll show us if they happen to finally get it on.
That's another. I tend to agree. I think Fury's just too big, and his work rate's not too bad. And I think he'll match Usyk for work rate, and I think he just doesn't have enough power. I don't think to keep Fury off him if he decides to take him out. Guys, just a quick one. I'll start with you, Mike. What's the biggest... This is probably the most important heavyweight fight out there, but if you have to put them all in the mix together, Fury, Usyk, Joshua, Wilder, Joyce, Dubois, whoever you want to put in there, Ruiz, who's the biggest fight that if you put them all in the mix, who would you most want to see fight who? I'll give you 2 if you want.
The fight I'd want to see the most, wow.
Out of all
Joyce
the heavyweights in the
Wilder.
mix.
Joyce versus Wilder.
Joyce versus Wilder.
The juggernaut with an unbreakable chin against the biggest puncher in the game.
Okay. Not bad. What about you, Tassie?
I'd like to see Wilder break Anthony Joshua's jaw. Yeah, Wilder versus Joshua.
Yeah, I think I would have said Fury and Joshua up until probably Joshua's fight a week or 2 ago. I think now Wilder and Joshua. I think Wilder would knock Joshua out now. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Fury and Joyce. That's probably the fight I'd like to see. I reckon that'd be a good one. Or Wilder and Joyce as well. I think either one of them would be a really good fight.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens there. All right, guys. Now onto the last segment of the night. This is the world famous quiz. It is back. So Mike says, get the
I've been
popcorn, boys.
bamboozled here. I never agreed to this quiz.
You'll like this segment. You'll like the way we've got it. It's just it's a good way to do it now.
Yeah, he's made
I might just tank.
All right. So the way we're going to do it's a little bit different.
I'm screwed.
This is a little bit different than the normal. This is, you can see there, we've got different segments up there. We've got some fighters, we've got some errors, we've got some weights, and we've got a couple of fights that I just thought of to throw in there. So what we're going to start with is you get to pick a category there. There's 10 categories, and you get a question related to the category. Now, if you get it wrong, your opponent then gets an opportunity to get it right. We might do 5 that way, and then we might do 5. Sorry, we might do a couple that way, and then we might switch. So you choose your opponent's category. But anyway.
As the reigning champion, I deserve to go first.
Go ahead. Pick a category, and we'll see how we go.
1980s.
1980. So again, you've got, we'll say 10 seconds to get it right. If not, then Mike gets a chance to answer the question. These are all a little bit tricky. I'm going to test you guys first up. What was it? 1980s, was it?
Yes.
All right, the 1980s. What year did Pinklon Thomas win the WBC heavyweight title? What year?
86.
Incorrect.
86.
Mike, you got a crack at it.
Yep. So that would be, I'm just putting it in context, that would be 1984.
No, 1985. Actually, I better just check that because I've got here, because he beat Berbick for it, didn't he? Hang on. Just got to go to the box rec for a second there, guys, because I think I've got 1985, but I'm just going to clarify that.
He dropped it to Berbick.
Sorry, he did too. He dropped it to Berbick, of course. Yeah, he beat Mike Weaver for it. That's right. Okay, so that was 1985, so you're both wrong.
Do you have the date? He won it. You got the date?
I'll get the exact date for you now, mate.
No half points either.
No, there's no half points. No points.
No.
I've just got to clarify it because I've got 1985. All right, here we go.
Mike, is this setting? Are you more comfortable in this setting? This nice, relaxed environment?
No, I would have been comfortable if I was allowed to do some research.
June 15th, 1985. So that's 0-0. Mike, pick a category.
Oh, June 15, 85.
Yep.
That is disappointing.
Yep. Pick a category, Mike.
Are you sure?
Wait. Are
you sure he won the world title there?
Don't go fucking Googling. I haven't got access to Google. Stay out of the Google shit.
Yeah. Actually, hang on. You might be right. He didn't beat Mike Weaver. He defended against Mike Weaver. He beat Tim Witherspoon in 1984. You're correct.
Okay. He got it. All right.
Apologies. All right. I think, have we lost Mike?
Move on.
Are you there, Mike?
Let's go. Dodo.
If we lost Mike, we might have to get him back.
Yeah, I'll win by default.
Hang on. I'll get rid of him there, and he'll answer back. Geez, come on, Mike. Get with the program. Yeah, apologies. His first defence was against Mike Weaver in 1985. So, come on. Let's get him back in. I think he bugged out on purpose. Where are we? Is he back? Have we got him back there? Jeez, come on, mate. No, we've lost him again. Let's try and get him back one more time. You all right there, Tassie, are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right, the quiz is back. All right, let's wait for him to come back. We'll give him a... Come on, Mike, get off the dodo, buddy. All right, here we go. We'll give him a couple of seconds, then we'll bring him in. Let it ring a couple of times. All right. Have we got him? Are you there, Mike? There he is. He's back.
My internet gave up.
Come on, Mike. Get with the program.
100% it was 84. He beat Tim Witherspoon.
He did. I just said that.
100% it was 84.
You were frozen. You were frozen. You are correct.
All right, what's the score?
1-0.
What's the score?
1-0 for Mike.
Can we cut off again?
All right, Mike, pick a category.
Permanently. I'll retire at 1-0.
All right, pick a category.
All right, let's go heavyweights.
Heavyweights. All right. We all know that Joe Louis had the most defences ever of the heavyweight title. Who had the second most successful defences of the heavyweight title?
Easy.
Harry Holmes.
Correct. 18 is correct. Tassie, that's 2-0.
And?
Yeah, you've got to pick a category.
Heavyweights as well.
No, you got a different one. I'll take them off. Yeah. There we go.
Joe Lewis.
What was the other one? 1980s, wasn't it?
Yeah, Joe Lewis.
All right. Okay. All right. Joe Lewis. Okay. Not so easy-ish one. What year was Joe Lewis born? Not after his birthday. I'm after the year.
Oh, how the fuck do I know?
That's a hard one.
Well,
yeah, mate, I don't know. All these years, crap. It's going to suit guys like Mike.
why? I've got. That's why I've got all the different categories, so everything's covered. Come on, don't chuck a Peter Manianis on me here. You chose the subject.
I got no idea.
All right, Mike.
No idea.
You got to.
What year was he born? So I'm figuring out what he would have been in. Gosh, that's a hell of a question.
5.
Okay, so
4, 3.
1914.
That is correct. You got to upset Tassie here, Mike. That's 3.
I was going to say 1913, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure he was either 23 or 24.
Yeah, all right. We're going to go back to the normal one.
When he fought.
Hey, come on, just because it's not working your way. All right, let's go.
That's fucking bullshit.
Let's go to all right, one more where you get to choose the category, Tassie.
Wait, isn't it my turn?
Oh, sorry, Mike. It's your turn. Sorry,
His turn.
Mike.
Let's go 1960s. This will test me, though.
All right, 1960s. In 1960, Sugar Ray Robinson twice lost in world middleweight title fights. Who was the opponent that beat him twice in 1960 for the world middleweight title?
Paul Pender.
That is correct. Paul Pender in Boston in January 1960. That is very, very impressive, I will say.
Paul Pender's actually my dad's favourite fighter, so that's a bit of a cheat question to ask me.
All right. All right, Tassie, you're up.
Roberto Duran.
All right, Roberto Duran. All right. How many fights in total did Duran have in his career? Now, I'm going to give you a hint. It's between 110 and 120. How many fights did he have in his career?
114.
Incorrect. Mike?
Oh, gosh. It was more than 114. I'm going to say 118.
Incorrect. It was 119. He had 103 and 16.
I knew it was near 120. Damn.
Go ahead, Tassie.
Lightweights.
All right, lightweights. All right. The IBF was bought out or the first belt was bought out in 1984. Who was the first ever IBF lightweight champion?
I know this one, I think.
1984.
First IBF lightweight champion.
Fuck, 84.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mike?
I think it was Jimmy Paul. I could be wrong, though.
No, it was actually Charlie Brown was the first champion in 1984.
Oh, Charlie Choo Brown.
Yeah.
Damn. Who did he lose it to? Jimmy Paul?
I think it was Jimmy
No,
Paul.
I know Harry Arroyo won it. Yeah, and then Harry Arroyo won it thereafter.
No, Jimmy Paul beat
Charlie
Harry Arroyo,
Choo
didn't
Brown.
he? Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, did he? Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. Charlie Choo Brown famously flattened Pat LaGlease at the Hordern Pavilion.
Yep, I remember that. And then, of course, Greg Haugen beat Jimmy Paul. But that was a long time ago. Mike, it's your call.
Let's go Leonard Donny Lalonde. I should know
All
this
right,
one.
Sugar Ray Leonard, Donny Lalonde. I don't know how that fight came into mind. If you get this one, I'll be very, very impressed. All right, Sugar Ray Leonard, Donny Lalonde. Now, this is Lalonde. This is not the fight. This is to do with the entrance. Now, the Donny Lalonde come into a song that was made famous by a famous Aussie band, we'll call them. What was the song?
No, I'll throw the towel in on this one.
It was
actually
from
no
a
Donny,
very well-known Aussie band. He came into the ring to this song.
I know
Do you
Donny.
remember
If
it,
I
Tassie?
had time to phone a friend, I would have it. But no.
What do you reckon, Tassie? Who you got? Do you remember?
It wasn't, what's his name, Jimmy Barnes' band, was it?
No, it was no, that was Cold Chisel. Name the song he entered to.
The Dire Straits?
No, it was Beds Are Burning by Midnight Oil.
Oh, wow.
It was making a bit of a political statement.
I never would have got that.
Yeah. I only just watched it the other day and I just happened to
just for that.
just heard it come up. All right, Mike, up to you. Tassie, was it?
No, it's Tassie.
Tassie.
Back to Tassie.
Carlos Zarate.
Carlos Zarate. All right. What year? He obviously won the WBC bantamweight title. What year did he win that title? Just the year.
Say 1986.
Incorrect. Mike, you got a free crack?
Yeah, so it's either 77 or 78. I'm going to say 77.
1976, to be exact.
Ah! Close. Close.
1 year off. All right, one more category each. Tassie, let's go. Oh, sorry, Mike, is it? No, Tassie.
Mike.
Okay.
No, it's mine. And let's go Macho Camacho.
All right, Hector Camacho. All right, he retired in 2010. Who was his last ever fight against? Don't worry about the result, just who was the opponent?
Walsh. I'm trying to think the first name, but surname was Walsh. He got outpointed over 10 rounds.
Incorrect.
Say that again, Lynden.
Hector Camacho had his last fight in 2010. Who was his last ever opponent?
Last ever opponent was
2010.
Yeah, I think he fought the same day, same cards as his son, maybe. But yeah, I'll pass.
No, it was actually against Saul Duran. Was his last. Now I would never have got that, but I just plucked it out there. Saul
that was a draw. Yeah.
Last ever fight.
Did Walsh beat him the fight before?
He did. He lost his last couple, I think, Camacho. So, all right, last question. So back to you. Is it Tassie?
Yeah.
Last question.
Ali Fraser.
Ali Fraser. All right. This is another date one. All right. What was the date? Not the actual day. I want the month and year of Ali Fraser won. The month and year. I've taken away the actual day, just the date, the month and year.
Yeah. No good. I'll challenge Mike next week to the proper quiz.
March 1971.
100% correct. March 1971 was right. So that was, I hate to say.
I'm not doing this again unless he does my one. We'll do
now,
it in a week.
All right. It's up to you, Mike. But I just want to make
I told you, Lynden, I can't win. Even when I win, I lose.
Yeah, but this isn't a proper quiz. It's a very different thing.
Why?
And it's a lot of dates and a lot of fucking years, mate. Like,
hey, they'd be the same. They'd be the same question. If I had to just ask the question to you guys, it would have been the same question.
Well, I challenge him to the rule quiz next week.
But they're going to be the same question, same type of questions.
I don't care.
All right.
I'll give Tassie a rematch on his terms. That's okay.
Fine. No
That's
drama.
Okay.
They're going to be similar type questions. So don't blame the questions. It's whoever has time to do it.
I'm a fighting champion. I'll do it next week. Don't worry.
All right. Nah, easy done. All right. No, we'll do it next week.
But if you bully me, I might disappear like Splinter's Peter for a year.
I don't care, mate. I know where you are in Greensboro, brother.
All right, so what we'll do next week then, guys, it'll be the same type. I'll have the categories. You'll get taken in turns of actually choosing the category. However, we'll be first in. How's that? Is that acceptable to everyone?
Can't we just do it the way it used to be?
That will be right. It's just that you guys get to choose basically the category. It'll be the same question, whoever gets in first. So either way, the 10 questions are going to be asked. It just depends on who decides when they're asked, I suppose. We'll work it out.
All right.
But we'll do it that way.
I used to like the 5 Aussie and the 5 international, but it is what it is.
All right, we'll make them the categories.
We can do it. Whatever terms Tassie wants, we'll do it on his terms.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm like one of these world champions from a country that has no TV market, no gate, nothing. I've got to go wherever I got to go to defend my quiz title.
Oh, good. All right. We'll go again next Wednesday night anyway, guys. Thanks for joining the show. Thanks to everyone, of course, for tuning in out there. Hope you got the questions right. Did you get them right over Tassie and Mike?
You see this bottle top, Mike? This is your heart.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hopefully we'll see you next week. See you, boys.